Oh my goodness, it is a bingo for Irene. Let's hear it for Irene Landry. Give it up for the big winner, Irene Landry. Fastest bingo of the night. Come on, let's hear it for Irene.
Oh.
Irene, where you going? Hey, you know what, take over.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down and analyzing how Jimmy Mcgill is evolving into Saul Goodman and how it's actually slowly killing him as well during the process. With that being said, warning of spoilers for everything in the show up to Season 3 Episode 9, and let's jump right into this. So since Jimmy couldn't convince Howard to do what he wanted, which was convincing him to pay out the settlement, so he decides to instead accidentally bump into Irene again for the second time this episode. This is where he's shown as a mall walker and he starts stretching by a trash can right as she walks by with all her friends. He intentionally went there to bump into her and he plays it off as being a coincidence again and lies about being a huge regular mall walker. Now there's a moral line here as Jimmy is technically using the elderly himself. Now he's trying to lead them in the right direction so they can get their settlement checks, but his true motives are to get his own payout. He's just using the end goal of his elder clients to get their own settlement checks as justification for immorally lying to them and manipulating them. So as Jimmy shows off his new shoes to Irene, he practically makes her wish that she had her own pair. And then he makes up this story about having an extra pair for his girlfriend that doesn't fit, and so he offers Irene a pair and tells her that the store has no return policy. Everything he just told her turns out to be a lie, because when he runs to his trunk to get the shoes, we can see that he has the same shoes in pretty much every woman's size that there is, guaranteeing that he would have Irene's shoe size. Also, I assume that Jimmy will be returning all of those other pairs afterwards, implying that the store he bought them from really does do refunds and that he intends to use it to his advantage as well. So as Jimmy gives Irene her new pair of shoes, he promises her to not tell any of the other women that he gave them to her, as he tells her that he doesn't want them to think that he's playing favorites. Although this seems initially sweet, it turns out to be another part of his plan as he continues putting ideas into the other elderly women as he tells them that Irene probably has the new shoes because she can afford them due to having settlement money. Although he gave her the new shoes, he's lying to them just to make them jealous and make them want the settlement checks for themselves. So as we get a montage of Jimmy explaining to them about the Sandpiper case, along with the settlement money, he talks about how Irene is the decider of whether or not they get their settlement. During this, he practically pins all of them against her as they start acting completely cold towards her. Following the montage, we get shown a scene of Irene's friends ignoring her at the mall as they jog completely past her, and you really can't help but feel awful for her because she never did anything wrong.
Yoo-hoo! Rose! Helen! Ladies! Ladies!
And as if that wasn't enough, Jimmy sabotages the ping pong balls for a game of bingo so that a certain combination of numbers will be played, and apparently Jimmy has gotten his job back as the number announcer for the game, or at least for one night, as he hands out all the bingo cards and specifically gives a certain card to Irene. As Jimmy goes back up to the ping pong ball machine, he slips in the tampered ones and loads them up. He almost decides not to go through with it due to what is most likely guilt, but he decides that it needs to be done, and he rubs Marco's pinky ring as comfort afterwards. So Jimmy calls on the first 5 numbers and Irene gets about the quickest bingo I've ever seen. Jimmy calls her up in front to check the card, and when he tells everyone to congratulate her with her prize, literally no one does and she runs away crying. I felt so sorry for her as she's such a sweet old innocent woman and she definitely did not deserve this. Jimmy literally made Irene run away crying in order to convince her to settle, and I don't even know what to think about Jimmy anymore. This has to be some form of elder abuse or manipulation, right? And although Jimmy goes to comfort her, he's only doing so in order to lead her in the right direction as far as leading towards the decision of accepting her settlement. Jimmy created the issue of Irene's friends hating her, along with coming up with the solution in order to make it all better, along with getting what he wants out of it. Because Chuck has screwed over Jimmy by suspending his license, causing him to become practically broke, Jimmy has resorted to conning people in order to make money, which is what Chuck hates the most. It's tragic how, if Chuck would have never put them through this, Jimmy wouldn't be as broke as he is, and he wouldn't have resorted to conning the people that he has, such as the guitar twins, the man at his community service, along with Irene and her friends. And also, if Jimmy would have just accepted Kim's offer to pay for the office until he's back on his feet, Jimmy probably wouldn't have to do whatever he can to get money because he wouldn't have to stress about it and worry about it. Now, Jimmy could just be looking for excuses to con people, but I truly believe that if everything was hypothetically going well in his life, he wouldn't resort to such tactics, and he's only saying no to Kim because he wants to be noble and show her that, he can get money himself. All Jimmy wants is the payout, even though he tries to act like he cares about the elderly clients. From his actions this episode, we know that that clearly isn't the case, as Jimmy takes advantage of them the entire episode. Howard even calls out Jimmy in the parking lot about how all he cares about is the money and that he's completely transparent, and I'm kind of glad that someone had to say it. What do you guys think about all of this? I'd love to hear your opinions down in the comment section below, as this show provokes amazing discussion, and I really enjoy what the show writers do with our characters so much. They give us both reasons to love and hate certain people, and they're really showing us that with the evolution of Jimmy transforming fully into his Saul persona. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything I've said today, or even subscribe for more Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad content in the near future. With all that being said, I thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
All you care about is your share of the payout. It's like talking to Gollum. You're transparent and pathetic. You want a handout? Here. Huh? Next time, why don't you bring a tin cup and be more honest?